Hey everybody, thanks for joining. So sorry about the trouble that we had with good old YouTube. I'm letting people in one by one.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for your patience, everybody. Hi Michelle. Hi Beth. Hi everyone, thanks for being here. Off to a great start. Technology never seems to cooperate, but here we are. And we are glad you're here. And as more people come in, we will let them in. But we're going to get started because we're a little behind. Again, we apologize for that. But welcome. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to Help Me Get Hired. As you're joining, if you don't mind, drop a quick hello in the chat and tell us where you're joining from. If you're open to it, tell us if you're a student, a grad, a parent, anybody else that is not part of that list, and just tell us why you're here and how we can help. Great. Nashville. Hello, Nashville. I'm already seeing people come in. That's awesome. So tonight is designed especially for college students, recent grads, anyone in their early career who feels like, I'm doing everything and it's still not working. I'm doing all the right things, right, that I've been told. And if that's you, you're not alone. We meet with clients every day who really struggle with the same things. But just a quick few housekeeping notes that we wanted to let you know about. Please put questions and comments in the chat as we go. We will try and answer them during the topics that we're discussing if they're relevant, or we can save them to the end, which might be helpful too. And we'll share some exclusive free digital resources at the end. So we'll give you links to download a couple of free tools that we think will help you. Before we begin, a little bit about us. So Jess and I met through a group called Career Thought Leaders. I'm in Florida and she's in Maryland, so we're not near each other, but we share a passion for young adults, and that's how we ended up partnering on this and getting together. And we're super excited to be here and really excited that you guys are here. So thanks for making the time on a Monday night. After a long career in corporate America, I decided I really wanted to have more direct impact, particularly on young people and hiring and finding jobs and all that. So I started my business 6 years ago, and I've been coaching exclusively young adults, college students, recent grads, early career, people on different alternate paths, some entrepreneurial paths or gig work and that sort of thing. I'm also a mom to two young adults. One's 20 and one's 22. So I live this in my business and I live this in my personal life, which is part of the reason I think I love it so much and I'm also passionate about it. So I'm going to throw it over to Jess and she can give you a little bit of information about her.
Thanks, Betsy. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Jess Roffe. I am the founder of Career Beginnings LLC, which is where I coach young adults, college students, recent grads on anything career related. And my full-time job is actually as an honors program associate director. I've worked in higher education for about 12 years. So I work every day with college students as well as recruiters. So I kind of see both ends of the job search process and use that in my coaching as well. So I'm really excited to partner up with Betsy for our first live event, and we're hoping to do many more of these as well. Between the two of us, we worked with hundreds, probably over thousands of students and early career job seekers. So we're really excited to share what we've learned with you. It's really all based on what we're actually seeing works right now. And we're going to focus on two big things. First, how to actually find opportunities, and especially ones that aren't on the big bad job boards that everyone is looking at. And also how to stand out once you do find those opportunities. That's where a lot of people get stuck. And so we're going to start with where those opportunities actually are, how you can find them. Before we get started, if you don't mind dropping in the chat a one if you or your child has been applying to jobs online, or a two if you or your child haven't started yet or are thinking about starting the process.
One, 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 one. We say a lot of
Lots of
ones.
ones. Okay, so starting to apply and also a two. Okay, great. So we'll get started. And everything we're going to say here can apply to also the internship search, not just the job search. So this can be really for all college students and recent grads. I'll hand it over to Betsy to get started.
Thanks. And thanks again to everybody who just joined. We still have more people coming in, so you weren't here at the beginning. We apologize for the technical difficulties, but glad that you're here and thanks for moving over to Zoom with us. Yeah, as Jess said, we're going to talk about finding the opportunities and then ultimately, getting hired. But Jessica mentioned the big bad job boards, and I actually have been using that phrase a lot. Indeed and LinkedIn used to be the place, right? Or all those big ZipRecruiter, if you remember those, and Monster was a job board back in the day too. So they get hundreds of applicants, and now with AI joining the party, they get thousands of applicants for one job. So, as somebody said to me recently on a podcast episode, getting hired through Indeed or LinkedIn or the big bad job boards is like winning the lottery. Your odds are very low. And that's why you need to find other strategies and other ways to find your way into a job and to get noticed. So, Jess is going to talk about something right now, and I'm going to share my screen. If you want to talk about
Yeah, so I was recently reading an article about from Ashby, which is one of the big talent platforms. And it actually mentioned that inbound candidates are the least likely to get an interview. They're only 3% of the population that gets interviews. Referrals and sourced candidates get over 65% of interviews. So when you're just cold applying online, it's really, really not the best method. You can see here's the actual graphs from the Ashby source. And so this is really proof that you have to not be passive in your job search. Being proactive is really the best way to get noticed these days. And there are lots of jobs hiding in plain sight. So I'm going to share one quick method that you can use LinkedIn for and not on the jobs tab. A lot of people, when they use LinkedIn, they just immediately go to the jobs tab and that's where they start searching for jobs. But if you actually search in just the chat and like the normal search bar at the top, and you search, meaning you put things in quotes and you put and in capital letters in between. So say you're looking for like a marketing internship, you could put marketing in quotes and in all caps and then quote intern and then search. And you're also able to filter by the last 24 hours or the last week. So that will show you, and then you click on posts. So that will show you anyone who has posted on their feed of LinkedIn, I'm hiring a marketing intern. And it'll show you the most recent people that have posted that too. So a lot of times these people aren't actually paying to post the job on the LinkedIn job board. They're just posting it on their page. So this means they might have less applicants, meaning that's good for you. And then also you're seeing who the person that's hiring is. So you have an in to be able to message them after you apply. You can send them a note and let them know that you're excited about the role and what you might bring to the role. And also searching in those past 24 hours is key because if you're one of the first people that gets to them, that could be a huge advantage for you. There's actually a lot of research that shows that the earlier you apply, the better. So that's one really good tip on using LinkedIn in not the typical job search way. I also want to share some job boards that you may not be aware of. So if you actually go to jobsearchdb.com, you can find niche job boards for your industry. So you can filter by different categories, whether it's finance or computer science, whatever, and that will show you the right job boards for your career path. If you're interested in startups, that could be a good place to look because they're often hiring a lot of early career professionals, and there's so many of them that are just trying to get started. So you could look on a website called wellfound.com, or work at a startup.com. And these would be kind of smaller companies that may not have like huge built out internship programs or early grad programs, but might be willing to take a chance on a young professional. So that's another good option, is to think about startups. And then lastly, I'll mention if you're on campus still, and even alumni have access up to a year usually after graduating, use your campus events and use the alumni at your campus. There are career centers hosting events all the time. And if you can meet someone in person, that will be a huge advantage to you. They'll remember you. If you can meet someone in person multiple times, even better. And you really have to go to things. You have to get involved. Like it's on you to put yourself out there and be noticed and not just hide behind a screen and cold applying to, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Over to you.
Thanks, Jess. I put those links for the job boards or the job sites rather in the chat. So, and this, by the way, this replay will be available probably later tonight. So if you want to go back and replay any of this or get any of the information again. And I just have to give a little shout out to someone in the audience. Speaking of alumni networks and alumni associations, I shameless plug did a podcast episode recently on the Career Intelligence podcast, and I spoke to Michelle about who works in alumni relations, and that episode was chock full of good information about tapping into your alumni. So please, everyone, whether you listen to the episode or not, as Jess said, it is such a valuable opportunity for networking and connections. So please take a listen to that if you're interested. As Jess said earlier, we're also talking about internships tonight, which, this time of year, much like post-grad jobs, is a hot ticket. Just a little bit of data, which not to, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but 8.2 million students wanted internships last year. 3.6 million got one. Unfortunately, the way the market is, there's just not enough internships to go around. This is not really new, but it's definitely a problem, and it's definitely being talked about. I can tell you both in higher ed and in industry. And interestingly, even with a gap that big, in surveys, employers say that internships are still the number one factor in hiring. And that really boils down to more than the internship, but more about the experience. And as I like to say, the phrase I'm using over and over again these days is proof of work. So paid internships also will lead to higher salaries and more offers. And the system is basically saying you need experience, but we're not giving enough people a chance to get it. So all is not lost. There are alternatives. So micro internships. If you are not familiar with Parker Dewey, ParkerDewey.com, Jess, maybe put that in the chat. This is an organization who literally connects students and recent grads to micro internships online, virtual, with big companies, small companies. All you have to do, it's free to you as the student or recent grad. You just go on and create a free account and log in, and you'll see it's not a marketplace, but you'll see there's an opportunity to look at all the things that are available and see what's a good fit and apply to them. I can tell you I will be actually interviewing the owner of Parker Dewey again this week, but we've had conversations in the past, and he says that a lot of them convert into full-time jobs. And you can do these throughout the school year. It's not just a summer internship. So if you have a lighter class load in the fall, some of them might be a 2-week project or a month. So keep that in mind, because again, all work is good work, even if it's a short-term project or, experience. Pitch yourself. So I've actually had a couple clients do this where they were not able to find an internship for the summer. And we worked together, and I helped them build a target list of companies within a particular radius around where they lived. We did research using ChatGPT and found companies, small to medium-sized companies, because oftentimes formal internship programs, you don't see them at smaller and mid-sized companies. Big companies, they have, formal programs in place and onboarding and the whole thing. But a lot of your small businesses nearby, whether it's a realtor or a finance business or something smaller in the neighborhood or nearby, they may not have a formal internship, but you can get their contact information, send them an email and say, hey, I'm a college student, but you want to do your homework and you want to tell them what value you're going to bring. So for example, say it's a realtor and you go to their website and you see their photos, their home photos, and it's not very good, right? You can say, listen, I have a photography background. It's one of my skills. I'd love to help you this summer. I can take some new photos for you. I just need to get the experience. Now, some people may offer to pay you for that, but even if they don't, if it's something that you enjoy, if it's going to give you experience, there's a lot of reasons for you to do it. So keep that in mind. If internships don't come to you, go seek them out and create them yourself. And pitch yourself, make sure you understand the value you bring, why they should hire you. It's the what's in it for them mentality, right? You don't want to just write them an email and go, I'm a finance major and I play, whatever, varsity sports, whatever you want to say. I understand your company and I understand this problem you're having, and here's how I'm going to help you solve that problem. So, so yeah, Jess, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, shifting to a proactive job search strategy is really key. It's so competitive in this crazy job market, and so you need to make opportunities for yourself. Honestly, Betsy and I were talking, and we were thinking that really a rule of thumb should be spending about 80% of your time proactively reaching out, networking with people, and only 20% doing those cold applying online, where most people kind of switch that and they focus really on the cold applying. So make that shift, and I think you'll see a lot of benefit. One kind of like mix of the two is if you do cold apply to something, you can always find someone at that company on LinkedIn and then send them a message after, because at the very least they'll look at your profile or pull out your resume from the pile. But getting that second contact from you could make them more interested. So how do you do that? You go to the company's page on LinkedIn, and there's usually a tab that says people, and you can search by the different profiles of people who work there. So you could find someone who maybe is in the exact department you were looking for, or is more in a talent acquisition or hiring manager role. And that would be the right person for you to message. But click through the different profiles and figure out who might be the best fit. So we were talking a little bit about the value you bring and thinking about how you can portray that to employers. So you really want to think about how do you make your resume stand out over everyone else? You know, if you swapped your resume with 50 others, would anyone notice, or does it look kind of the same as everyone else? And right now, especially with AI, a lot of people are writing very similar looking resumes and also using a lot of the same language that is kind of fluffy and not really specific. So a lot of, I'm a hardworking team player. That's not really showing much. Anyone can say that. You need to prove it with the impact and results and the skills that you uniquely have. That's what they want to know about you. So you want to have a clear narrative. Really think about what is the value I'm bringing over everyone else that's studying my major or that graduated with my degree. What are your unique involvements or interests? Were you in a special program at your school? Did you have a minor? Think about even when you're in college, what are those things that can differentiate you from the other people in your major and try to get involved in those. So really think about every time you're applying to a job, look at that job description. What are the skills that you have that match that job description? And how can you make sure you're including those on your resume, showing how you've done similar things that they're looking for in your positions? And then you can also think about having sort of a personal brand statement at the top of your resume or a summary to direct the recruiter right away to understand what you want them to know about you. Maybe, for example, your major doesn't match the job you're applying to, but you want them to know like you can create your brand. So think about maybe at the top of your resume having digital marketing summary, and then you put a sentence or two about the skills that you would bring that match the job description that you actually have and the value that you've brought in past roles in the same field. And then right off the bat, they understand what you're aiming for and what you can bring rather than having to kind of sort through your bullets and figure out like what experience does this person have. So that's one idea in terms of kind of really stating your personal brand. And this can be used on your LinkedIn profile as well, in any elevator pitches you do, as well as in tell me about yourself in an interview. So when you really have a strong idea of what is unique about you, it can help you in so many ways throughout your job search process.
Jess, we have a
Betsy?
question in the chat. I don't know if we want to handle
Yeah,
it now, but do cold emails actually work? Do you want to respond to that?
I like the thumbs up. Yes.
That was my thumbs up.
Cold emails definitely work. I actually got a lot of my internships in college through cold emails, because as a psychology major, I hadn't really was kind of lost, like where do I look? And so I just started searching what are some of the organizations in my area that might be interesting for a psychology major and just email anyone I could find. You can find them on company websites. It doesn't just have to be LinkedIn. A lot of people check their email a lot more often than LinkedIn messages. So I would try to do cold emails more than cold messages as much as possible And you can find people's emails through a website called Hunter.io or also through the Contact Out Google Chrome add-on. It's called Contact Out. So if you download that and you go to someone's LinkedIn profile, it can actually show you their email address from their LinkedIn profile. So that's a good way to find the right people to outreach to. But it really works. And I share this with my clients all the time. Betsy does too, because you have to be proactive. People are impressed by that. Oh, wow, this student is really taking the initiative to reach out to me. And clearly there was something about my organization that resonated with them that they want to work here. And so they want to take the time then to get to know you and see if you're a good fit for them. And especially for those smaller companies, like Betsy was saying, smaller to mid-size, that may not have a formal internship or job search process built out. Maybe they don't even know they want an intern until they get an email from someone who's willing to intern there. And then they're willing to create that role because they realize they could really use that help. So I definitely think it's worth trying because as we're seeing, those inbound, just cold applications are really not the way. Betsy, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I second what you said. And again, I think the way you handle that cold outreach in that email is what's most important
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, I can tell you that I've heard from employers, they'll get an email and it'll say, "Hi, I need an internship. Can you hire me?" Well,
Yeah.
you're not really going to get or summer job or whatever it is, you're not going to get a response to that. So again, think about why them, right? So their company, their business, why that role or what project you're pitching or suggesting. ChatGPT, I'm going to say this a lot throughout this event, but it's a fantastic resource for that kind of research. I did this with another client of mine, finance major, has not been able to find an internship. So went on ChatGPT and said, give me a list of all of the companies within a 30-mile radius of X city that would have project work for a summer intern, even if it's not part of a summer internship. Tell me what their problems are and the kinds of projects I could pitch to them this summer. So I had a client do that and they pitched 4 different projects. They emailed and said, "Hi, I'm a finance major. Here's the skills I have. Here's the value I bring. I would love to come and help your company, even if it's just for a short-term project, a month or two over the summer. And here are some of the things I could do." Well, they reached out to him, they brought him in for an interview, and they gave him 2 projects for the summer. So it's not just about asking for it, it's about telling them what you can do for them, the value that you bring. We have a couple more questions, Jess, so let's take a look real quick. Is the computer science new grad job market as bad as I see in the news? It's disheartening. I'm happy to answer that now, or we can save it till later. But I'm going to kick back to the podcast. I literally this afternoon interviewed the president of a platform called Dice, DICE.com. They call themselves matchmaker for computer science or tech clients and tech jobs. And we literally had this conversation this afternoon about how dismal and how just what a wreck the computer science job market is. As a parent of a young adult who's a senior in studying computer science right now, who graduate in May, this of course is a concern of mine, as it is for many parents. The answer is it is not as bad as it seems. It is a lot of noise in the market, a lot of hype headlines, a lot of, stir the pot and make people think it's a mess. Is it changing? Yes. Is it going away? No. In fact, US News and World Reports, if you put any weight on the studies and the data that they share, they just said computer science is one of the best majors to get right now in like the top 5. So Noreen's asking the question. Noreen, this episode that I recorded on the Career Intelligence podcast will air this Thursday. So I highly recommend you give it a listen. Again, I'm not trying to plug the podcast, but that topic is literally what we talked about today. So, and you're welcome to reach out to me and Jess on LinkedIn. You can, follow us and reach out to us there, and I can share other data and sources for you too. Andrew asks, what would you suggest when emailing as a follow-up to an application, especially in my case where I know the company outsources their first stages of hiring? You want to answer that, Jess?
Well, I would similarly to what we were saying, you want to emphasize your interest in that specific role in that company, show that you've done your research, and you also want to know your value and bring that up. Like, here's why I'm super excited. Here's what I know I can bring to your company. Do you have any update? I'm really like looking forward to hearing back from you. Betsy, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've heard from a lot of clients, I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to make them mad. Unless you're doing it, unless you're emailing them every day for 2 weeks straight, you're not going to be a pest. Now, you might not hear back from them, and that just might be they don't have the bandwidth to reply to every email. But we hear from employers, they see it, they know who goes above and beyond, who reaches out. So you have nothing to lose. And again, if you do it with the right intention, and again, remind them the value add, remind them why that job, why you're a good fit for that, why you want to work there. We hear that from recruiters as well, or from hiring managers. If you're, I'm going to use computer science, but if you're going for let's say software engineering role at 10 different companies, you want to tell each company why you want to work for that company, because they care about that. They want people who want to work for their brand, their company. That's helpful. What if the
What if
hiring is outsourced and you don't have any contact info? Great question. You have anything to say to that, Jess?
I think you can't just find anyone from midair, but I think you could try to still find somebody at the company on LinkedIn because if they're hearing from that student, they might still tell the outsourced company, right? Like you never know what could happen behind the scenes. So I would still try to find somebody in like the type of role that you're looking for, like I was saying before, or who works in talent acquisition there, because I'm sure they work very closely with the company that is doing the hiring in the first round.
Yeah, and actually,
Anything
Jess
that,
is going to talk a little bit more about LinkedIn and how to use that as a tool a little bit
yeah.
later in the presentation.
Want to get into the proof of work, Betsy?
Yeah, let's talk about proof of work. Again, anybody who knows me is probably sick of hearing me use the phrase proof of work, but it is my mission for this year to help everyone build their proof of work. Okay, so what is proof of work? Resumes don't prove what you can do, right? Anybody can put any skill, any experience on a resume, and we're hearing a lot of resumes look the same, especially now with AI, right? And a lot of people will say, I have communication skills, I'm a problem solver, I'm a critical thinker. That's great. And employers now they have to differentiate between the people who say they are and the people who do what they actually say. So it's harder to build trust between employers and candidates because they can't tell what you actually know or what you've actually done. They want people who can think, who can problem solve, who can communicate. But what proof of work looks like is projects, case studies, mock work, volunteering, gig work. So if you're a creative person, it's a portfolio, right? It's samples of your work, samples of the campaigns you've done if you're in marketing. But let's say you're an English major. Well, what about samples of things you've written? If you're a communications major, what kind of projects have you worked on? Did you work on crisis communication? What was the result? They want to know how you think, what you're going to do for them, why they should hire you. Because again, if you're lined up against 10 other people going for the same role, what's going to make you stand out and what's going to make you different than everybody else? My digital download that I'm going to actually share with everybody after this session is just that, how to start your proof of work plan. It's a startup kit. So you'll be able to read more about that and you can reach out to me with any questions.
Yeah, and
So
I'll just add that, go ahead, Betsy.
no, I was going to say, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add, if you're thinking about those projects too, so many students don't realize you can add projects from classes or personal projects to your resume. A lot of times I'm hearing my resume is not getting looked at. I don't know what's wrong. And then I ask, well, what experience have you had in this field? And it really all comes from the students' classes. So if you can make a project section with the title of your major, computer science project, software engineering project, and then list those, it's totally fine. And you can be specific about the skills. What hard skills did you use in those projects? Was it a certain tool? Was it a certain platform? Put those in your bullets and not just in your skills section so that you're proving how you've actually utilized the skills that are listed on your resume. Okay, so now let's talk about, like I was saying before, relationships are super important. You have to put yourself out there and be seen and not just be cold applying behind a screen. So first of all, if you're still a student, take advantage of what your school offers. I ask students all the time, do they know about their school's job platform? Do they know about the alumni mentorship matching platform that their school has? Do they know that their career center has a newsletter? And maybe like one hand goes up in an entire classroom. And it's really just students are not taking advantage of these things. So if you are the one that is, you will be noticed. I recently heard of a student who really wanted a certain company and went to every single event that company held that fall at her campus. And she landed an internship there. The recruiter got to know her super well. She showed her interest. So that is a great way to get yourself noticed. I would also say sign up for your Career Center's newsletter and actually read it. Every single week, there are events going on campus, whether it's just like a simple drop in resume review. You get to then sit down one on one with a recruiter and they're staring at your resume and giving you feedback. It's not just that they're giving you feedback, they're judging you and they might want to give you an opportunity to come interview with their company. I have heard many students who have done this and then gotten offers. So take advantage of that resume review session or interview prep session, and then don't just sit there passively. Go up to the person at the end of the session, introduce yourself, tell them more about you, what you're interested in, ask them a question about their company. So always make sure you're researching in advance as well and coming prepared with questions for the company that you cannot just find on their website, something that is going to make them really remember you after. And when you get home or the next day, within 24 hours, send that person another note, follow-up message. It was so great talking to you about whatever you talked about, trigger their memory. I would love to stay in touch, or I actually am going to apply to this role, or I just applied to this role. I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing you at the next event, whatever. You just have to keep that relationship going. That is huge. And I was talking before about alumni student mentorship programs. If you just Google your alumni association mentorship program, a lot of them exist on a platform called People Grove. And you can basically import your LinkedIn profile and make a profile. And alumni in this platform have opted in to be mentors to students. So it really takes out that intimidation factor of reaching out to alumni because they're telling you, I want to help you. And a lot of their profiles in these platforms will say, this person responds within 24 hours or within a few days. So then you also know who's going to be more likely to get back to you. So this is one of my favorite secret opportunities that students don't often know about because you can really get responses on there and build connections. And you're not reaching out saying, do you have an internship or a job for me? You're reaching out, trying to ask them about their career, be curious, and then you never know what could come from it. Maybe if they really hit it off with you, they're willing to connect you to someone else who they know is hiring or put you in touch with someone at their organization. So having these informational interview conversations, the website was People Grove. I didn't see the first question, but People Grove, not every college has it, but a lot of them do. They have to opt in through their alumni association, but just Google like alumni to student mentorship platform. And then I know when I listened to Betsy's podcast with Michelle recently, they also talked about something called Ask a Grad, where students can, if that university opts in, students can just ask any question that they have and it'll go out to a group of alumni who have opted in to help them, and they'll get a response from an alum. So using these tools that your university has is super valuable.
I want to pop back for a quick second just to a question from Jaden, and it's a very good question. Any advice on how to make resumes comprehensive, i.e., adding professional summaries, experience, project skills? As an early career professional, I've heard this is important to keep it to one page. Yes, so I don't disagree with you, and I don't think Jess does either, that one page, particularly for students, recent grads, beyond that is probably more than you need. That said, because resumes are 99% of the time submitted digitally through a PDF or an application platform, you have the ability to link to things. So it can be a simple Google Doc, or if you're technically savvy or creative and you want to use a Canva site or a Wix site or something like that. For example, if there's a bullet on your resume that says, created a spreadsheet to track, XYZ data for this company, you can literally put a link in that X or that, created a spreadsheet and have it link to the spreadsheet online. The ability of you to show that and demonstrate that proof of work doesn't all have to be on your resume. Again, some people in their header will have their name, their link to their LinkedIn profile, their phone number, their email, but you can also have portfolio, or I've had some clients now to start to do proof of work. So they have a proof of work link on the top of on their resume, and if you click on that, it takes them to whatever that source is of the information or the demonstration. Do you have anything else, Jess, on that?
No, I know we're going to get to LinkedIn now, but having that link to your LinkedIn on your resume, so many students miss this one too. But your LinkedIn is where it's an extension and really where you can show more of your personality and your brand. So that's another great way to add more to your resume.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about LinkedIn. So let's start with, you know, almost every young adult that I speak to, when I say LinkedIn, they get the ick factor. Ick. Or if I say networking, ew, I don't want to talk to people I don't know. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to reach out. I get it. It's hard, but we can do hard things. And you can do it in the beauty of LinkedIn is it allows you to do it in a thoughtful, professional setting, not face to face in person. So particularly even if you're an introvert or have trouble, making those connections, it might be a little bit easier for you. But here's one of the most important things about LinkedIn. And I said this, and Jess and I both said this earlier. LinkedIn as a job board, you're not even scratching the surface of the value of LinkedIn, and frankly, it's not going to get you much traction. The value of LinkedIn is the visibility and networking. So because of AI and just in general, because recruiters and hiring managers are getting so many resumes now, they're not posting as many jobs online as they used to. So what they're doing is they're doing what's called quiet hiring. So they're going out and they have a recruiter tool that they use. It's called LinkedIn Recruiter. And they can search for people based on keyword, based on experience, based on education. So they can go out and search LinkedIn for people. You want to be found, right? And Jess is going to talk about how to make yourself more visible and get yourself found. But I want to say the one thing is, and Jess will talk about these sections. If you think about your LinkedIn profile, first of all, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, when this is over, please go do that tonight. It doesn't have to be fancy, just get started. And Jess is going to actually share a lot about that and give you a lot of tips. But you want to actually be visible. So your headline, the about section, and your skills are the three most heavily weighted sections of your LinkedIn profile. The algorithm for search is really heavy for those three. So I'm gonna throw it over to Jess and let her talk more about LinkedIn.
Sure. So I'm going to go through different sections and how to really optimize your LinkedIn to catch the attention of recruiters and hiring managers. And my free download today is also going to be my top 10 tips for getting noticed on LinkedIn. So I'll send that link after. So headline, a lot of students make the mistake of just putting, I'm a student at blank university in their headline, or recent graduate from blank, and that's all it says. The headline is the 220 characters that's right under your profile picture. And so you really want to optimize this. Use all 220 characters and include keywords. So that means, what do you want to be known for? What do you want recruiters, if they're searching for a certain type of student, you want those keywords to come up. So maybe you put something you're aspiring to be, like aspiring computer engineer. And then you put certain skills that you have. Maybe you're an engineering student and you have MATLAB, you have CAD, like you actually list the hard skills that a recruiter might be searching for in your headline. You can also give yourself a little phrase, like something that describes what you are aspiring to do or what value you bring. So maybe like turning social media into something, like give yourself a little catchphrase that shows somebody what the value you're going to bring is. And then you also can look at what are all of the internships or jobs you're applying to, what are those skills they're saying they want. If you have those, make sure those are the ones that are in your headline. So look at what's out there and what they're looking for, because then you can kind of get an idea of what people are searching for. Your about section is where you can tell more of your story. a lot of students don't even have an about section. That's a huge missed opportunity. Like Betsy said, that is one of the most heavily weighted sections when people are searching for which students will come up. So this is another chance to communicate who you are, what skills you have, the value you'll bring. So think of it as like where you've been, where you are now, and where you want to go. And maybe have 3 separate paragraphs about those things and include specific experiences and skills. You can also tag skills in your about section, which will be, it'll have a little gem and then some skills tagged there. That should be a lot of the different hard skills, those things again that you're seeing in the job and internship descriptions. So make sure that you're telling your story in your about section. That's where you can really frame the brand you want to be known for. And then when you add experiences like job or internship or projects, you can also tag skills. Make sure that for every single experience, you're tagging skills, you're having bullets to describe what you actually did and the value that you brought there, and make sure that you're hitting on certain keywords. Depending on the type of role you're looking for, like maybe you want to work at a nonprofit, maybe you would add a volunteer section. Or if you are an engineering student, maybe you add a project section. So you really want to think about what makes sense for you and what is the signal that you want to show someone based on your profile, and then add those sections and really fill them out. And for every experience that you add, if the company has a page on LinkedIn, you want to make sure you find their actual page so that a little icon shows up, like their logo or their image will show up next to that experience. So make sure that you do that as well. And then here's some other tips after you've really gotten your profile up to speed. You want to follow anyone, any companies or any people that you want to learn from or you want to show your interest in. So you can go to any company's page that you're interested in and click follow. And there's also a tab, if you go to the company page and then about, it'll say, I'm interested. And if you click I'm interested, you're actually 2 times more likely to get a message from a recruiter at that company because it will move your resume up when they are searching for certain candidates. So don't forget that I'm interested. If you go to the company page, then about, and you click I'm interested, and you can do this for up to 50 companies. So that's kind of on the back end, how recruiters know. And if you apply to a role at that company, they'll also see your resume because you're one of those I'm interested people. So you want to flood your homepage on LinkedIn with companies you're interested in, kind of like influencers in your field. So you can even like people like Betsy and I, if you want to get a lot of career tips, we post them all the time. Betsy posts a lot of job opportunities, internship opportunities. So think about who are the people you want to follow. These don't have to be people that you already know. These can just be content that you want to see on your homepage that can help you in your professional journey. Another thing I wanted to share was on the back end of LinkedIn, you can share your resume data with hirers. So how you would do this is you actually go to the jobs tab and then preferences. It'll say resume and application data. And if you upload your resume there, it'll allow you to share your resume on the back end with hirers. So if they're searching for something, it will actually pull things from your resume in that search as well. But you don't want to have your resume just uploaded on your profile. Your profile is supposed to be dynamic and changing. So I see a lot of students who have their resume on there from last year, and it's clearly been so long since they've actually updated it. So you don't want to have your resume visible on your profile. That's what your profile is for, to just continuously update. But you could have it on the back end visible. So again, you would go to jobs and preferences, resume and application data, and upload your resume on the back end so you can share your data with the hirers. For connections, you want to add as many people as possible that you personally know. And if you don't know them, like maybe you're trying to connect with an alum, I always suggest sending a message with your connection request so that they have some context as to who you are. So you can write a little note and try to connect with them. And then hopefully you can maybe set up a time to talk or ask them a question about their career. Another great thing to do is make posts as you reflect on different opportunities you're a part of. So if you did a project in a class, if you finished up an internship or a job, you can actually just write a post reflecting on that experience and tag the people that were important to you. Maybe you had a significant boss or somebody who helped you get that role. And that will show up on your profile under recent activity. It's actually right below the about section. So it's one of the first things somebody sees when they're on your profile, any recent activity, meaning any posts you've done. If that's blank, it'll just say no recent activity, which signals to someone that you're really not active on the platform and you're not really super invested in your professional development. So you want to make sure that there is something there. Reflections on recent things you participated in, and that will also signal to them, okay, what is this person involved in? What do they care about? So that's a good way to show your brand again. The last thing I'll say that if you're wondering, how do I actually find alumni on LinkedIn? Go to your college's homepage, and then it'll have a tab that says alumni. So you can search through all of the alumni from your university, and you can filter by many different things. You can filter by, you can just search whatever, or you can actually click on different filters, like where they live, what they majored in, where they're working now. And then you can look through those profiles and decide the right person to connect with. But that's another tool that a lot of students don't even know exists, that alumni tab on their university's page on LinkedIn.
Can I just
So
add something real quick,
yeah,
Jess?
Betsy, go ahead.
So, and I think again, I hear from clients, just I feel like I'm bugging them. I feel like they don't want to talk to me. I feel like whatever it might be. So people want to help people who come up behind them. They were probably helped on their way up, the career ladder, and they actually want to find people, who they can help as well. So don't feel like you're bothering them. They love that and they welcome it, especially, if you're from their school. Right off the bat, you have something in common with them. So definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, and you're not going to get 100% response rate. You have to know that going in,
Right.
but hopefully you get some. Okay, so just know that. And don't be disappointed when not every single person responds. Everyone
Right.
is busy. Okay, so we have a question in the chat. Betsy, what advice do you have for a recent grad in a field that has been heavily impacted by AI, like graphic design?
Yeah.
Do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure, I can take this one. So, sorry, our speaker view isn't shifting, but one
All
more
good.
technical thing to work through, but whatever. Yeah, so the reality is, yes, your field is being impacted. What you do about that is up to you. So there, again, there's a lot of research and a lot of news out. Well, let me back up. There's a lot of news out there and a lot of hype that will say your job's going away, right? But one of the things, and this is not a tech thing, but one of the things I've talked to numerous people in recruiting and hiring about is what is happening. So if you think about before AI, the job, for example, of a graphic designer, you did a lot of the design. As AI comes into the picture and can take on some of those tasks, and I will say this, and I'm sure I have friends who are artists and designers, and the work that AI is doing is nowhere near as good as you are. You people are talented, but it's more about overseeing that work, shepherding that work, managing that work. So you might be using AI tools in your job, but you're not going to be, there still needs to be somebody who keeps things in check, who does the QA, who makes things happen. It's more about the product or the project management than it is maybe having your hands in the details of the work. And I know as an artist, taking away that piece of the work you do is probably the part that you love. So I think the other thing too is find ways or find tasks and things that AI can't do for you. We talk a lot about the human skills and the EQ, emotional side of things. There are things that AI can't do in every aspect of every industry. So find out what part of design, of graphic design, can AI not do, and make sure you strengthen your skills in that area and that you become, you know, really needed and in demand in the roles that you've been in before. I don't know if that's helpful, but feel free to reach out to me because I actually have talked to a number of artists about this and how they can sort of pivot in that direction. So reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want, and we can chat about it.
Okay, Betsy, I think we should wrap up, but if people there's another question in the chat, I think we can answer that if people want to stay on, but I know we said we would end at 9. So I think
Yeah.
let's wrap up and share our
We
download and
started
then
a
we
little
can
bit
stay
late, so
on.
we started
Yeah.
about 10 minutes late, so I figured we'd stay in for a little
Yeah.
bit. But
Yeah. People are willing to stay on.
what if I'm someone currently working with AI to make automated solutions? Great question. So I actually had a client who, mechanical engineer, graduated college and got a job, didn't like it, wanted to get involved in AI. So during his job search, he took it upon himself to teach himself Claude Code to automate tracking of the applications that he sent out, and it created, he would put in the job description and it would build a spreadsheet that had the company name, the job title, the link, all the things. He took it upon himself to do that. He saw a problem, he used it, he taught himself AI, and he solved it. And I will tell you that the way things are today with AI, particularly Claude Code, you just put in a prompt and it will build it for you. So to answer the question, let's see, I think it was Malik. Yeah. How can you market that? Funny you should mention that. So again, proof of work that, and you'll see if you get my download, you'll see I talk about that because I do have a lot of clients who are entrepreneurial, who don't want to go work a 9 to 5 for a company. They want to launch their own business. And we talk about that, about gig work, stacking jobs, all those kinds of things. If you want to actually work for yourself, you can become a consultant. But I will tell you this, the young man who created that spreadsheet used it as proof of work, told an employer about it as one of the projects that he worked on, and he just got hired as an AI strategy consultant. And I mean, he's like just out of school. They want thinkers. They want people who are curious, who are problem solvers, who are critical thinkers. If you can demonstrate that in the work that you're doing, even if it's projects for yourself or on the side, you are going to stand out to them. Entry level jobs requiring few years. Yeah. Yeah, I rant about this on my LinkedIn. You're welcome, Alec, all the time. These entry level jobs are requiring a few years of experience. I say this all the time. If you want 3 to 5 years experience, it's not entry level, so stop calling it entry level. That is, I don't know how to fix that, except we keep speaking up about it, but employers ask for what they want to ask for. It's unrealistic. I will say this is a little bit off topic, but I tell all my clients, if you have 70% of what they're asking for, and you really want the job, apply. Jess, would you agree with that?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Because nobody has everything, and you
No.
might have something that they didn't even know they wanted. So if they want 3 to 5 years experience and you have two, or they want 2 years experience and you have one, apply anyway because you might have the equivalent in projects that you did, or just information or experience. So
Yeah, and a lot of times people will say that they're looking for that, but they actually will look at everyone.
mhm,
So it
mhm.
depends really, I think, more on the value that you show in your resume because what you've done and your experience can probably make up for other like years that they think that they need.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're a little bit over. We started a little bit late. So sorry about that. So just to wrap up, let me put up the screen, share my screen. Jess, do you want to kind of do the wrap up and I'll get this up and
Yeah, sure.
I'll put the
But
links in the chat too.
sure, sure. Thank you. So, in conclusion, we're like we were saying, you really have to stop relying on those big bad job boards. It's all about being proactive and making opportunities for yourself. As long as you know your unique value, you can be the one to pitch yourself and stop blending in. Another great way is to show proof. Make a proof of work and show that to people so that they can really see, oh, I want this for my company. Pitch a project to them. You're reading the job description and you see what they need at their company. Well, come up with something and show them what you would do if you were in that role. Start building your visibility on LinkedIn and be confident in what you bring to the table by exploring different options, talking to people. You'll build your confidence because you have more to back it up with. And so that's really key. Our goal is that this is really going to be the first in a series of many live events. We could only cover a certain amount today, and we want to cover a lot more. So please keep in touch with us. Here are our websites, our emails you can find on our website, and then our LinkedIn's as well. And then we have free resources. So Betsy's is that proof of work starter kit, and mine is the top 10 LinkedIn tips to get you noticed. So please take a look at our free resources, check those out. Betsy, anything to add? We would love to hear what other topics you're interested in hearing in other lab events. So
Yeah.
if anyone wants to put those in the chat
Yeah, and
or
we
reach
welcome
out to
you.
us.
Oh, sorry, Jess. We welcome
No, go
you to
ahead.
connect with us or follow us on LinkedIn. Message us there. If you're going through, if you watch this again or you're just thinking through something that we talked about and you have questions and we can answer them, we're happy to do that too. Oh, one more question here. I was told I should update my portfolio with more experience. Yep. That's a great question. So free, you can get I think a Wix site you can do for free. You don't get your own URL. It's wix.com, I believe. So you can do that. Canva, can you do one for free or do you have to have the paid version? That I don't know. Honestly, you can use a Google Doc. Like the things you can do now with Gemini in a Google Doc, Gemini is Google's answer to AI. You can just create one and make it look really nice. It depends on what you're going to include in the portfolio, but if it's design related, yeah, you probably want to use something a little more creative. So I would look at Canva and Wix. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. This has been really great. Again, we apologize for all the tech issues, but we'll get that fixed next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.